Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 29th of April and I welcome you to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we are going to take the entire analysis of Hindu newspaper along with all the articles and the background that is relevant to the articles. And I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this entire session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, I would like to show you overview of the entire newspaper so that you can understand that actually which articles are important and which articles you should read only in just the headlines. So, let's start with overview. This is a Delhi edition. The first article, Delhi police registers 2 FIRs in the wrestlers case. So guys, we have seen that wrestlers were protesting in the Delhi around Jantar Mantar from so many of the days because of the sexual assault that has happened of some of the women wrestlers. So in this direction, the FIR has been launched. Good thing. But guys, understand this thing that this particular article, you need to understand that there are many number of times the pitiable conditions of the athletes. Okay, and in this particular direction, we need the better sports governance in India. That is something that you need to see. Sports reforms are needed, but you are not required to go and track everyday development that is going on. Then the side article, we should fix accountability on support of terrorism. Rajnath tells SCO members. So guys, understand this particular thing that 2023 India is cheering two important associations or organizations or groupings. We are cheering G20 for 2023. Also, we are cheering the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And guys, in this particular direction, recently, basically here we see this thing that the defense ministers meet has happened under the SCO, and here India has specifically talked about that we should fix accountability on the supporters of terrorism. Terrorism is the single biggest problem that is ailing the entire world, and we need to take account of such kind of activities. Okay. However, understand one more thing, guys, that on the level of SCO, many meets are going to held again in the coming year. Now, further moving on in this direction, Operation Kaveri. India airlifts 754 more stranded citizens. Now, right now, we see this thing that in Sudan, there is the crisis that is going on where the military factions, opposing military generals are fighting with each other, and many of the Indian citizens have got stranded there. And to rescue the Indian citizens from there, this Operation Kaveri has been started. Now, note very much important that you should track that how many people have been airlifted till now and all such things, not important. But understand this thing, guys, just 3-4 days back, there was a very good editorial that came on this direction. I just repeat 2-3 important recommendations that were given there, and if you have seen, you might already be knowing it. It was provided that right now India is having the largest diaspora in the world. So anywhere, if any crisis, conflict will happen, there will be the Indians who will always be stranded. In Ukraine, citizens were stranded. In Yemen, Syria also, the conditions are very dangerous, but still many of the nurses are working there. So Indian diaspora is in every part of the world. So we need to, number one, have a dedicated force which will be helping in evacuation whenever such kind of a thing happens. Secondly, we also need to have a standard operating a procedure to coordinate in such kind of crisis. Okay. So that the time is not wasted, and this is something that India should do immediately. Now, moving on, after that, ruling opposition fronts in Kerala call ban for deeply divisive movie. Okay. Supreme Court stays Calcutta High Court judge's order. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing that basically when we talk about these particular issues, evolutionary issues, no need to go too much in detail. Core sector output dipped to 5-month low of 3.6% in March. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing that state of Indian economy is an important topic for our examination, but I will not suggest you to track every month's data on core sector growth, on industrial output, on import export, on the current account deficits and all such kind of things, because by the time you will come to your exam, this data will become old, redundant. Fine. Then coming to the regional section, we have largely the regional issues, regional political developmental issues. Okay, not important for your examination. Then we have these advertisements and all such kind of things. Okay, so we will be skipping this particular section entirely. Fine. Much important things have not been there. Okay, so therefore directly we come to editorial section, and in editorial the first article, women reservation bill. We'll see this article for exam, women related issues. Then the side article, the article is talking about recent Supreme Court direction that has been given that governors need to approve the bill in a time frame. We'll see this article for exam. Then below article, IPL an opportunity to bat for climate action. So we will see that how the sporting activities are also leading to a big carbon footprint, and that carbon footprint needs to be tamed. Tackling the threat. Now this article talks about this article talks about the increasing cooperation between South Korea and US on their 70th anniversary. We'll see this article as well. Then further moving on, ground zero, the growing problem of substance abuse in Jammu and Kashmir. Now this article is actually talking about the specificities with respect to the Jammu and Kashmir, that now many people are involved in substance abuse. So first of all, now this particular article is giving the personal stories of people, okay, how they are struggling financially, how they have how they are struggling because of these addictions, then how many percentage of people consume which type of drug, specifically in the case of Jammu and Kashmir, such data has been given. Okay, now I will not advise you to go too much in detail in this particular article, because article is containing datas too much specific to the Jammu and Kashmir only. Okay, then further moving on. Okay, so today guys, it is Saturday. So on Saturday, text and context page doesn't come, so we don't have the text and context now, which we have usually after the editorial page. A fight to secure stronghold ahead of Karnataka. Guys, largely the political articles have been filled in the next 2-3 pages. So much relevant articles we don't have here. Okay, entirely political articles. Fine, no need to go too much in detail. Fine. So we will be moving and will come here. Here we see that register FIR against hate speeches even without clients. Supreme Court will see this article. IMD predicts more heat waves days for eastern India in May. So obviously guys, as we see that every year summer temperatures are increasing, partly because of the climate change, partly because of the global temperature that are increasing. So heat waves are going to be there, which are going to be even more deadly. And on this thing, already I think we have seen 2-3 articles in last 1 week only. Okay, then further moving on. Russian strikes kill 25. Fine, BBC chair quits over links with Boris. Not much important articles. One important article of IR is there today, but it is in editorial section. We will take it. Okay, so just our evolving details. Government names Mohanty as LIC chairperson. Okay, most Air India pilots have accepted revised pay. Fine, corporate trends, etc. are there. Geo cinema pricing, focus on Warner drills. Not important for exam. Now here, government moves star rating system for water taps. Okay, so guys, already such kind of things have been asked. Okay, that whether for the fans there are the star rating systems or not, or that kind of a thing. So we will take this particular article for examination. Now moving on, and let's start. Okay, after that, this is the sports page that we have. Now let's start the discussion on relevant articles one by one in detail. So let's start with the first article. Now, this was the synoptic notes, guys, that I was telling you that you can download from our Telegram channel, where we have explained the articles in a very simplified way. Fine. Now, so in every class, we start with a GS quotation that can be used in your GS answers 1, 2, 3, 4 papers. Okay. So today, guys, we are going to take the quotation from Martin Luther King Jr. Just a minute. Fine. So today we are going to take the quotation from Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most prolific civil rights activists from US, he says that the arc of moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Okay, so the universe has been designed in such a way that at the end of the day, the universe will resort to the order. Universe will resort to the morality. It will resort to the right thing. It will resort. But see, that particular path, that particular arc is long, but definitely the universe will bend towards justice. So at the end of the day, injustice will be rectified. The people who have perpetuated injustice, they will be punished. So we need to have faith in the moral design of the world. So the arc of moral universe is long, but it surely bends towards justice. One day the right things will happen. We need to have a faith. Okay, we can use this particular idea, guys, in GS paper number 4 ethics as well as in essay. Now taking up the first article. Okay, fine. So guys, the first article that we are taking today is the article from the editorials, that is noon None too soon, none too soon. One more thing, guys, is that in today's newspaper we don't have that much articles. Okay, some days we have too many articles, some days we have less number of articles. Okay, so understand this thing, that when you have less number of articles, that is actually good for you, because you can cover your newspaper in less time and you can give more time for revisions and all such things. Okay, none too soon. Now this particular article is important for GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, issues related to polity, and within polity the role of a governor. Now see this thing, in the last 1 year there have been many controversies on the office of governor. For example, what has happened in the case of Tamil Nadu just a few months back, when the motion of thanks, okay, speech was being delivered by the governor in Tamil Nadu, he dropped some of the references from that particular speech which was earlier approved by the cabinet. Okay, and after this thing he was criticized, he walked out of the house, and openly the governor and the government of Tamil Nadu, they have criticized each other at many point of time. When we talk about, guys, in this particular direction, then guys, here we also see that in many other states also there are the issues that have happened. For example, in Telangana, what has happened, many number of times what governors are doing, they are holding the bill. Okay, the bill is passed by the legislature, but they are holding the bill, neither they are giving assent nor they are returning that particular bill, just they are sitting on that particular thing. In this capacity, the resolutions have been also passed that governor should be given a kind of a time frame, that okay, you should return the bill, or you should accept the bill, or you should give the assent to the bill in a limited time window. Now Supreme Court has come out in this particular direction, and Supreme Court has given a reminder to the governors, and Supreme Court has provided that the constitution expects from the governor that they should decide on a bill. If they want to return a bill, they should return a bill to the state assembly for the reconsideration as soon as possible. They should not sit. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that we have article number 200. We have article number 200 of the constitution. Now article 200. Okay, so article 200 of the constitution provides this particular thing, that whenever a state legislative assembly will pass a bill and will refer the bill to the governor, governor can do A, governor can give the assent to this particular bill. B, governor can withhold the assent to the bill. Governor say that I will not give the assent, and that bill will be over. C, what governor can do? Governor can return the bill. Governor can return the bill to the reconsideration to the house, to the assembly. Or D, governor can reserve this particular bill for the approval of a president. Governor can reserve that bill for the approval of president. Now the point that is happening is that many of the governors, particularly in the states where there are different political party that is ruling, governor simply sits on the bill, neither he is giving assent nor he is returning the bill. Fine. Now here Supreme Court has provided this particular thing, that when we read article number 200, in that it has been very clearly provided, and it is actually written there in article 200, that governor should return the bill. Governor should return the bill as soon as possible. And this wording as soon as possible means that there is a moral responsibility, there is a constitutional responsibility on a governor, that governor should not sit on a bill. This is something that is there. It is constitutionally impermissible, and governor should always keep it in the mind. This is one thing that actually has happened. Then guys, there was also one more controversy that is there. The controversy with respect to withholding the assent or returning a bill. Withholding the assent and returning a bill. Withholding a assent means governor says that no, this bill will not be approved, and then that particular bill comes to an end. Or returning a bill, that okay, you reconsider. Now these two provisions, are these things discretionary, or they have to be exercised on the aid and advice of the Council of Minister? Can governor by his or her own wisdom can withhold the assent or can return the bill? Now here also it has been provided that most of the time we see it as a discretionary power, but actually the Constituent Assembly, when it was designing the Constitution of India, at that point of a time, very clearly they clarified this particular thing, that these two things also should be done on the advice of the government, but actually this is also not happening. Now, when we talk about the article number 200, when a bill goes to the governor, there are three problems in nutshell that we have. Number one, absence of a timeline for acting on the bill. Second is scope for reserving a bill for the president's reconsideration. Okay, now this thing is also there, that many number of times governor reserves the bill for the president and delays that particular bill. So is this also a discretionary power or not? Okay, and then the claim that the governor can kill any bill by declining the assent. Can governor do this thing as per his own will, as per his own wishes? Now understand this particular thing, guys, that actually when we read article 163 in the Constitution of India, article 163 very clearly provides this thing, that governor has to function on the aid and advice of the cabinet. Governor has to function on the aid and advice of the cabinet, but at the same time governor also has a discretionary power. Okay, now what are these discretionary power? Okay, what are these discretionary power? There are lot of haze on that particular thing. Why there is a haze? Why there is a lack of clarity? Because the constitution itself provides this particular thing, that governor has a discretionary power. Governor can take certain discretionary decision, and whether a particular matter, whether a particular thing will come under the domain of discretionary power of the governor or not, in this particular thing there cannot be any inquiry. Okay, so governor say that this thing I have a discretionary power. You cannot inquire, you cannot question that governor is having discretionary power there or not. So because of this particular gap, there is a lot of gray area that emerges, and governors have tried to take the advantage of this particular thing, and because of that there is a lot of conflict between the government and the Raj Bhavan, that is the governor's office. So point is that, guys, actually now what we need to amend the constitution suitably by using the article 368 of the Indian Constitution, and we need to add certain provisions. Fine. Now, for number one, we need to add specific timeline within which the governor has to give the decision on a bill. Either governor accepts it, governor rejects it, but governor has to give a decision in a particular time bound manner. Number one. Number two, we need to add in the constitution very clearly that what are the matters of discretion and what are not the matters of discretion. Okay, and number three, we also need to insert this particular provision, not the provision, but actually governor themselves need to understand this particular thing, that they are the one who need to ensure the facilitation of the processes in a state. They should not obstruct the process. This is something that is there. Fine. Now moving to the next article, tackling the threat. Tackling the threat. Now, this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues related to the international affairs. International affairs. Now, here, guys, if you see the map, we have the Korean Peninsula here. We have the Korean Peninsula here. And in Korean Peninsula, here we have North Korea and here we have South Korea. And between the North Korea and South Korea, we have DMZ. Fine. That is a demilitarized zone. Now, demilitarized zone, actually, guys, this was a kind of a, basically, see, when we talk about the North Korea and South Korea, in 1953, North Korea and South Korea have signed an armistice. Now, understand this thing. What is the meaning of armistice? So, when a war is going on between two countries, for some time, they pause a war. They take a break from the war. And for that pause, they sign an armistice. There are two things. When the war is finally over, then there will be the post-war treaty that is signed, which marks that now the war is officially over. But within the war, there are the war armistices that are signed. Now, first of all, guys, if I tell you, between the North Korea and South Korea, now we know this thing that the North Korea is dictatorship, okay, military dictatorship, and when we talk about South Korea is a democratic country. Now, between the North Korea and South Korea, there was a deadly war that was going on in 1950s, in which 1953 armistice have been signed, and this is the boundary, de facto boundary between the North Korea and South Korea, which is called as the DMZ. Now, over the years, guys, we have seen that the North Korea has tried to flex its muscles. North Korea have developed high-range missiles. They have also carried the hydrogen test and all such kind of things they have done. Now, what actually has happened when we talk about the South Korea always have been very much closely aligned with the USA. They are aligned with capitalism, they have democracy, they have aligned with the USA. But when we talk about the North Korea, North Korea, guys, understand this particular thing, is number one very much aligned towards the China. Many number of times China has also supported the North Korea as well. Many number of times when the actions are to be taken against the North Korea and the resolution is put forward in United Nations Security Council, China have used their veto power and had stopped many of the actions against the North Korea. So China supports the North Korea, one thing. And secondly, North Korea has been declared as a has been declared as a kind of a state which has went rogue, fine, because of the military dictatorship that is still going on there. Now when we talk about, guys, when we talk about the USA and South Korea, so 2023 marks the 70th year anniversary. So I told you in 1953 the armistice was signed, and in that year also the official racial relation between South Korea and USA were also established. So 2023 marks the 70th anniversary of the US South Korea alliance. US South Korea alliance. Now understand this thing, that when we talk about the word alliance, it means that there is a military cooperation between the two countries. Now what has happened on this 70th anniversary? Basically, the president of South Korea has signed an important cooperation agreement with the America. And under this cooperation agreement with the America, South Korea has asked the USA that you please protect us from the nuclear attack if it is carried by the North Korea. Okay, so they have asked the guarantees from the USA. Okay, so what has happened, this new agreement, it is being called as the Washington Declaration. Washington Declaration. And now USA says that obviously we will protect you, and for protecting the South Korea, USA had said that they will deploy the strategic assets around the Korean Peninsula. Around the Korean Peninsula, they will deploy the missiles, they will deploy the nuclear warheads around the Korean Peninsula, sorry, so that if North Korea attacks on South Korea, then the USA can retaliate against the North Korea. This is something that they are saying. Moreover, USA have also provided that a joint nuclear consultative group will also be established, and this joint nuclear consultative group will be deciding that whether an attack against the North Korea is to be made or not. But importantly, US will be the one which will take the decision here. Now this joint nuclear consultative group, it will share the tactical information, they will engage in the joint training of the forces, they will coordinate military responses, as well as they will also coordinate what is to be done in the case of any hostile action if it is taken by the North Korea. Now guys, when we talk about the South Korea, in the past, already in South Korea, the nuclear weapons have been deployed by USA in the Cold War. Because understand this thing, the demilitarized zone that I told you, the boundary between North Korea and South Korea, it was a very big, very tense front during the Cold War. So basically, earlier the USA have also deployed the nuclear weapons in South Korea, but they were withdrawn in 1991. They were withdrawn in 1991 around the collapse of the Soviet Russia. Now, the past president of US, Donald Trump, said this thing that now again we want to deploy the nuclear assets, and the Joe Biden is also saying the similar kind of thing. Is it clear? Now, why such kind of thing is happening now? Basically, guys, understand this thing, since 2006, North Korea has tested many of the nuclear capable weapons, number one thing. Number two, North Korea is also making very sophisticated and high range missiles also into the past few years. So what actually has happened, they are making these ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and many of the intercontinental ballistic missiles of North Korea, they are capable of reaching the USA's cities. Moreover, recently North Korea, they have also tested a solid fuel ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. Moreover, North Korea have also changed their nuclear doctrine, and now they say that in their nuclear doctrine they can carry out the preemptive strikes. Now what is a preemptive strike? So basically, when you fear that X country will attack on me, before the X country attacks on me, I will attack on the X country. That is the preemptive attacks. So they can be made by the North Korea. So obviously any day North Korea can even attack the USA South Korea. So therefore USA is saying that we are also changing our posture, and we will also deploy the nuclear weapons around the Korean peninsula. And for that particular thing, we need the cooperation of South Korea. And with the South Korea, Washington Declaration now has been signed. Okay, this is something. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that this thing is entirely not correct. It will lead to a nuclear tipping point, and it might start a kind of a slippery slope. from where returning might not be possible. So the countries need to behave maturely, they need to come on a negotiating table, and on the negotiating table they should take this particular matter. Fine. Now, moving to next article. The Women's Reservation Bill cannot wait any longer. Okay. Now this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, issues related to women as well as issues related to the political participation of the women. Issues related to the political participation of women. Okay. Now, so basically guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the political participation of women in the politics of any country, that shows the moral as well as that shows the social development of that particular country. Understand this thing, that historically the nations and the societies have been patriarchal, and women, they have supposedly been given the domestic responsibilities, care responsibilities, and seeing the women in the leadership positions was not very much acceptable to the patriarchal orders that existed earlier. But now women are being given the equal roles even into the leadership, and for that in political position in the office of MP, MLA, women need to be there. Now when we talk about India guys, we are celebrating the 75 years of Indian independence, but what is the status with respect to the women's participation in politics? So if I give you the data right now guys, there are just 14% of women in the parliament. Now out of the total members of parliament, just 14% are the women. Now when we talk about the population of men versus women, obviously women have around 50% share in the population, 1% 2% here there, but roughly 50% share. But in parliament they have just 14% seats. It is not a very good thing. When we talk about women, they have played a very important role during independence struggle of India. They have carried demonstration, they have led the rallies, they have carried the awareness. Okay, and also there were a lot of female representatives in the Constituent Assembly of India. And just if we see a decade ago, three of the India's largest state had women chief ministers, that is West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, right now also this is good thing that we have the president who is a female, but still in total female representation in politics is not that much good. And guys, if actually we see 1980 was a time, okay, we have regressed since 1980s, fine, basically when the status of women was improving in the politics, and we hoped that from 1980 onwards a lot of women will come in politics, but since then we have not went too much up. Now when we talk about women's participation in politics, guys, this is a very important reference that you should keep in your mind and you should use in your exam. So there was National Perspective Plan for Women. National Perspective Plan for Women. It was brought in 1988, and this National Perspective Plan for Women recommended that 30% of the seats in all the elected bodies, MPs in Parliament, legislative assemblies, 30% seats in the elected bodies should be reserved for women. This exact same thing was also accepted in the National Policy for the Empowerment of Women 2001. And guys, on the basis of such kind of a recommendation, what actually happened in 1993, when the Panchayati Rajes, the Panchayats were constitutionalized, 1992, okay, when the Panchayat was constitutionalized, the Panchayati Raj Act was amended and 33% seats were reserved for the women. Okay, 33% seats were reserved for the women. And on this particular basis, what happened in 1996, the Women Reservation Bill was also introduced in in the Lok Sabha. And this Women Reservation Bill provided that 33% seats will be reserved for the women in parliament. But actually what happened, this particular 1996 Women Reservation Bill did not got passed. Okay, then after that what happened, again the bill was introduced in 2010. This particular bill is approved in the Rajya Sabha, but again it has not been completely been passed. So Women Reservation Bill introduced in 1996, then in 2010, which talks about the 1/3 representation of women, did not pass. So point is that when guys we talk about the world politics, we see this thing that around the world women leaders are outperforming the male leaders. Okay, the Scandinavian countries, they have came out with policies and governance structures that support gender equality. Okay, if we talk about recently what has happened in Norway implemented a quota system in 2003 where 40% of the seats in the corporate boards should be occupied by the women, and wherever the women has been given their due representation, women have outperformed the male, or they have been the stellar excellent performers. Now India is the mother of democracy, and India being the mother of democracy needs to lead this particular thing, that we also reserve the seats for women and show to the world that how the gender equality should be pursued. Right now India is leading the G20, and this is a good time for India to ensure the adequate representation for women. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular article, and now moving to the next article. Moving to the next article. IPL, an opportunity to bat for climate action. Now this particular article guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 3, environment, climate change, and the impact of sporting events, impact of sporting activities on increasing carbon emission. So this is actually a new dimension and a different dimension. When we talk about the increasing carbon emissions, we talk about the contribution of vehicles, we talk about the contribution of industries, electricity generation, but I don't remember that in the near past we have seen any article on the sports contribution in climate change, sports, how it is leading to higher carbon emission. So this is a good dimension for GS paper number 3. We are going to take it. Now, first of all guys, a minute. Yes. So this article is talking about the IPL. So recently we saw this thing that the 16th edition of IPL has just started. 16th edition of IPL has just started. Just a minute. Fine. Now when we talk about IPL guys, Indian Premier League. So IPL happens to be India's one of the biggest economic and cultural phenomena. When we talk about guys economy of IPL has contributed significantly to India's economy through sports tourism. Many people are visiting India, watching the matches. It has also led to the employment generation, both during the sports activity and the supporting employment for the IPL. A lot of employment generation had happened. It has led to a lot of infrastructural development. These IPL activities also contribute to lot in the taxation. Okay, fine. But at the same time, the IPL also having a lot of significant environmental footprint. How? I will tell you this thing. Now understand this thing, that first of all, India has already committed that by 2070 we will achieve the net zero emission. Net zero emission means that the total emission that we are emitting and the total carbon that we are absorbing, it will be, the net balance will be zero. Means if we are emitting 100 unit of carbon, we will absorb also the 100 unit of carbon. So the net balance will be the zero emission. Now also India has agreed this particular thing, that we will reduce the carbon emission intensity by 45% by 2030 level. Okay, these are the commitments that we have taken. Now guys, in this particular capacity, the sporting activities needed to be addressed. First of all guys, when we talk about the sports, okay, there is the environmental impact of the large scale sports event. Okay, and in this direction, International Olympic Committee has taken a commitment on climate action and has asked the countries that when you are organizing the Olympics since 2026, the Olympics, when they will be organized, they need to ensure that 100% sustainable fuel is being used in Olympics. So Olympics have taken in account the carbon emission of the sporting activity. Now guys, when we talk about the India, what has happened in 2018, BCCI, that is the Board of Control for Cricket, and UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, they have signed an argument, they have signed an agreement, and in this agreement it has been provided that zero waste and green protocol will be adopted into the cricket stadiums. So cricket stadiums will emit zero wastage. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now guys, when we talk about the IPL, understand this particular thing. When we talk about the IPL, first of all, stadium activity and stadium facilities. Now when a match is being conducted in the stadium, a lot of lights are used, a lot of electrical equipments are used, so it has its own carbon emission. But when we talk about the stadium and the facilities, their carbon emission is actually lower than the other components. So the out of the total carbon footprint of IPL, 5% is coming from the stadium and facilities. Okay, after, fine, but they generate only 5% of the total emission. But guys, majority of emission is generated during the digital viewership. Now see this thing, many lakhs people, lakhs and lakhs of people, they are watching IPL on the TV screens. And when they are watching the IPL on the TV screens, obviously TV consumes electricity, and electricity has a carbon footprint. So what happens? Digital viewership, it has 3/4 of the total emission of the IPL. Then data centers are there. Okay, so when the IPL is being streamed live, okay, the IPL telecast is happening, so a lot of data is being stored into the data centers. Now those data centers are also the big contributor of the emission. Then what happening when the people are coming to watch the match? They actually take an accommodation in the hotels, they are traveling by fancy cars, etc. That also leads to a lot of carbon emission. So therefore, the IPL and any sporting activity has a lot of carbon emission. Now, when we talk about the IPL happens to be the iconic cultural and sports festival of India. So what can be done? We need to ensure this particular thing, that during the IPL we are taking certain initiatives, certain leads by which the carbon emission can be brought down. Now, the article is saying this particular thing, that first of all, we need to adopt the climate smart technology. Okay. Now, many such kind of solutions have been provided here. For example, it has been provided that while if we just simply replace the television sets on which we are watching the match, if we replace the LCD screens with the LED displays, LED screens, they can save 35 to 40% of electricity. Okay. Okay, by which also the carbon footprint will be reduced, 20% of carbon footprint will be reduced. Then also it has been provided that the data centers which are processing the live feeds of the IPL, etc., if they transition to renewable energy, they can also reduce the carbon emission. Okay, and if we use just the public transport while going and watching the match, it can also reduce the emission by 85%. So IPL has a unique opportunity that it can showcase itself not just as a cultural and sporting festival, rather it can also showcase itself as an environmentally friendly initiative. So this is a very good opportunity with the IPL, and IPL should take a lead in this particular direction. Okay, so this is what the article is actually talking about. Now moving to the next article. Okay, register FIR against hate speeches even without plaints, Supreme Court. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2. Now, basically guys, not much substance is there in this particular article. Now see this thing, that in the past few in the recent times, we have seen that the hate speeches have become a really big menace to the Indian society. Many number of times such irresponsible speeches are being made. Now, Supreme Court has provided this particular thing in a judgment to the police officers, that they need to register the complaints in matters of hate speech even without a formal FIR. Now see, police registers a case when a person comes and files an FIR. So even when nobody is coming to file an FIR on suo motu initiative, the police needs to register a complaint wherever the hate speech have been made. Even the Supreme Court has provided that the section 153A, promoting enmity between different groups on the ground of religion, 153B, imputations, assertions prejudicial to the national integration, 505 public mischief, 295A, deliberate and malicious act to outrage religious feeling. These provisions should be used, and court has also provided that if a police officer is hesitant in filing a complaint, then that thing will be seen as the contempt of court. So suo motu, the case complaints are to be filed in the matters of the hate speech if they has happened. So this is just kind of a ruling that has come. Now guys, such kind of ruling was also given by the Supreme Court in October last year, but that actually did not got implemented. So execution is something that is more important in these matters. Now, this is also one more article taken from the last page. Government moots star rating system for water taps. Now guys, understand this thing, that we are using the water taps in our homes, but many number of times the water taps, they are very much inefficient. The water taps, now and guys, understand this particular thing, that see, for example, I'll give you the example of shower. Okay, so when you take the shower, a lot of water is wasted while you are taking a shower. But sometimes some types of shower are such that they provide good flow of water, but at the same time the amount of water that is coming out of that shower is not that much. Okay, so the design of taps, the flow of the tap, okay, it could be designed in such a way that it becomes, such taps becomes more water efficient. Right now we don't have any system. Now see, if you buy an AC, you get a star rating on an air conditioner, that how much electric efficient that AC is. You buy a fridge, refrigerator, you get a star rating that how electricity efficient that refrigerator is. So in the same way, the water taps can also be efficient in terms of the water that they conserve. But for that particular thing, we don't have any system. So guys, what has happened now, the government has come out with a star rating system. 3-star, 4-star, 5-star rating will be given to the water fixtures, tap, showers, etc. And they will be coming under the Bharat Tap Umbrella Star Rating Scheme. Bharat Tap Umbrella Star Rating Scheme. And it has been said that 30% of waters 30 up to 30% of water can be saved by some of efficient water fixtures. But people often don't have information that okay, whether this is efficient tap or this is efficient tap, because there is no star rating type of system there. So this is something that has been introduced here. Okay, that is all about it. Okay, and now guys, taking up the mains practice question for today. So the mains practice question for today, it says, to tackle climate change effectively, it is necessary to adopt a strong multi-sectoral approach. In this context, discuss how the sports provides a unique opportunity to take a lead role in promoting climate action by prioritizing stability. So this is the article we are going to see with respect to the GS paper number 3, 10 marker question. Fine. So guys, that is all about the newspaper analysis. Guys, I hope that you have understood the articles, and I hope that you are getting the utility out of this particular session. So that is all guys for today. With this, we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button. Please do leave your lovely comments. And that is all. Now we'll be meeting on Monday. Till then guys, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.